You are now watching The Meech.
There's been a lot of discussion about Mario Strikers Battle League. Many are excited for the game, some are concerned, but where do I stand? Honestly, I've not been this conflicted about any game in recent memory. When I see trailers and gameplay footage, I can usually tell how I'll feel about the game, and in most cases, my first impressions are accurate to my experience. If I think something's gonna be good, it usually ends up being good, and if I think it's gonna be disappointing, well, it ends up being disappointing. There are exceptions sometimes. I thought Paper Mario the Origami King was going to be very similar to Color Splash, but it turns out I had fun with the game. It does have a lot of the problems that I noticed: lack of original characters, lack of really original environments, and just the stuff that made the prior Paper Mario games great. But one thing I definitely got wrong is that the game wouldn't be fun to play, which Origami King is. But with that being said, Strikers always has me thinking, looking at the gameplay and the trailers, this looks really cool, but also, oh, this looks disappointing, and it just cycles between that. This looks great. Oh, this is disappointing. This looks awesome. Why is Boom Boom the goalie? I want Critter to come back. All jokes about Boom Boom aside, I do think he's one of the worst characters in gaming history. He was never good. He's a stupid boss. I don't know why Nintendo loves him so much, but with Strikers, the roster has been the main talking point. For a soccer game, it has an unusually small roster of only 10 characters. Some have pointed out that the original Strikers games also had small rosters, but those had teammates. You could have teammates along with your captain, usually characters that are a species in Mario, like Koopa Troopas, Toads, Birdos, but teammates are seemingly not in this game, and what we're stuck with are the 10 characters that we've seen. Most notably, Daisy is absent. This is incredibly strange considering that the Mario sports games and most of the spin-offs on the Switch usually have pretty good rosters. I'm willing to criticize anything and everything about Mario Tennis Aces, but if I were to give it one thing, it has a really good roster. The only game with a small roster that's released recently is Mario Party Superstars, and while it definitely needed a larger roster, it's a Mario Party game, and the character roster isn't as important as it would be in a Mario sports game. But with that being said, I have a theory as to why the roster in Mario Strikers Battle League is very lacking and very slim, and this all goes back to Nintendo, recent trends, along with Next Level Games' buyout from Nintendo. So Next Level Games has proven time and time again they make excellent games. Even in recent memory, Luigi's Mansion 3 released in 2019, and I love that game. Definitely one of my favorites on the Switch, and even one of my favorite Nintendo games. So it's clear that Next Level Games is a team of very talented developers. What happened though is that Nintendo bought out Next Level Games fully, so they become a full-on first-party developer for Nintendo. The reason why I bring this up, it's very likely Nintendo put a really tight deadline on Next Level Games saying, hey, we need a Mario Strikers game out by June, you have this amount of time to complete it. Now they could have completed it after working on Luigi's Mansion 3, but Nintendo is very quiet about the development history, stuff like that. So let's assume that Nintendo said, okay, we're going to need a new Strikers after 2019. I do think that 2.5 years is definitely a good enough time to develop a Mario sports game, but if it was shorter than that, which definitely could have happened, Next Level Games realized, okay, we are kind of screwed here. We only have this amount of time to complete the game. What do we even do? Okay, the gameplay is the most important part, so we're going to focus mainly on that and putting content into the game, and although the roster is important, it can kind of sacrifice in this case. We'll update it later. This is what I'm assuming is happening because, as I said before, Next Level Games is a great developer, but considering Nintendo's history as of recently, it doesn't seem far-fetched that they would put a tight deadline on Next Level Games just to get the game out by the summer. I will say that the Switch era has done a lot of things Nintendo wouldn't have done before, and one of the things that I think was thrown out completely with the Switch era is a delayed game can be good, but a rush game is forever bad. Of course, it's a famous Miyamoto quote, but what's funny is they do delay games. Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 did get delayed, so it seems that the single-player games, their heavy hitters, get delayed, while the multiplayer-centric games don't have that luxury. And I gotta say, Nintendo Switch Sports is one of the worst examples of this, so much so where it's getting an entire video pretty much annihilating the game. If the reason the character roster is small is because Next Level Games decided to put the gameplay and the content as a focus given the circumstances, I would say that it's worth the sacrifice. But man, it really stinks that I can't be excited for a Nintendo game anymore without analyzing everything about the game. Do I have to worry if the game's gonna launch with enough content? Will the game be good? I miss the times where I was confident a Nintendo game would be great, but ever since Mario Tennis Aces, I will only buy a Nintendo game that I'm 100% confident will be good, and most of the time, it's not their multiplayer games. That's been a huge problem in the Switch era. Now sure, there have been great multiplayer games, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is fantastic, WarioWare Get It Together, another great game, I would say it's actually a bit underrated, and Mario Party Superstars are all great examples of excellent multiplayer games. While Mario Party Superstars would have greatly benefited by having more boards, all those games have a good amount of content and are definitely worth full price, where the same can't be said for games like Mario Golf Super Rush and Nintendo Switch Sports. This has become a heated discussion, especially with Mario Strikers. You could call it unfinished, you can call it lacking in content, you could call it diet content. Nintendo games aren't unfinished, they're just incomplete. Whatever. The problem isn't the definition. The problem is that Nintendo is launching full-price games without much content. Well, it's good because I stay engaged and interested in the game. No, you don't. You want to know what keeps players engaged? The first two Mario Strikers games. If those games weren't interesting, why did people want a new Mario Strikers for so many years? So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and keep calm and da-da on.